Hello, I'm State Senator Bill Hardiman, and this is From Capital to Community. This is our program where we try to cover very important topics for you, for me, and for our community as a whole. As a state senator, I represent the communities of Kentwood, Grand Rapids, Cascade, Lowell, those cities, and also the townships of Lowell, Virginia, and Groton. And we're very pleased, I'm very pleased to have as my guests today two very good friends that I've known for quite some time, but are friends who are doing very important work in our community. Those of you who have watched my programs know that I'm very high on mentorship as a way of teaching our young people the right kind of values, the right kind of things that will help them be successful in life. And we have two gentlemen here who are at the forefront of that effort in Kentwood, my home community. And I have with me today Superintendent Scott Palczewski, Superintendent of Kentwood Public Schools, and also Bill Joseph, board member of Kentwood Public Schools, but someone who's been involved in mentoring for a very long time. Gentlemen, welcome here today. It's great to have you on the program.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, Senator.
Great to have you here. Now, let's talk about this whole idea of mentorship. I kind of see it as really, for many of us, it starts with the family. And we're mentored as we grow up, just in a very natural setting. We're mentored on how to act, how to carry ourselves, and values, how to handle money, all of those kinds of things. But for some, need a little extra help. And many of our families do not have perhaps both parents in the home. So for a whole wide variety of reasons, mentorship is very important to extend beyond the family and others to get involved. Bill, you've been working at this for quite some time. Let's start with you. How long have you been involved in working with young people, mentoring?
Well, over 30 years, Senator.
Over 30 years?
Yes.
So that means that you're over 30 years old, right?
Just by a small amount.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
No, that's great. Wow, over 30 years. Now, how did you get involved in this? What prompted this for you? And tell us about it.
Well, Senator, going back to when I was growing up, I'm 11 of 12 children, and I grew up in Benton Harbor. And over time, it became very important because I had a couple of brothers, older brothers, who looked out for me, and they were my mentor, and my dad was my mentor. But the times were somewhat lean during my growing up in Benton Harbor. And as I became an adult, I wanted to try and do more in terms of spending time with students to try and help keep them on the right track. And once I moved from Benton Harbor to the greater Grand Rapids area, I was able to, after landing in Kentwood 21 years ago, I took it to another level, and just wanted to try and do what I could to help make a positive difference.
That's great. So, Bill and Scott, we've been blessed with this gentleman for 21 years, and during that whole period of time, you've been involved in mentoring young people. And you know, I just heard from your story, Bill, that you had good mentors in your father and in your brother, and that wonderful line of wisdom comes to mind that says, to whom much is given, much is required. Is that kind of how you felt about it?
Absolutely, Senator. And there's much love in my family, and it's just hard to replace. I mean, it's hard for a mentor or a teacher to replace a parent, for example.
Oh, yeah.
And so this was huge for me.
So you wanted to spread that around. That's outstanding. I heard of your work back when I was mayor of Kentwood. I've been in the Senate now for 5 years, just over 5 years, but I was mayor of Kentwood for 10 years. And even back then, this issue around families, fatherhood, mentoring was very important to me because I knew of the value of mentoring and wanted to see that provided for all those young people who needed it. And people would mention, well, that Bill Joseph, boy, that guy's just a dynamo. He's out there in the schools all the time working with kids. Tell us a little bit how you got started here in Kentwood and maybe what schools you've been to and maybe what your maybe a favorite story or two with someone that you worked with, mentored, and what the benefit was.
Okay. I go back to my time. I've always been a very involved parent. I have 3 children. And as a parent, I've always felt that it's my responsibility to be the very best parent that I can be with what I have. And as my children grew and came from elementary school and went to a middle school in Kentwood, I felt that it was important at the middle school to continue to be involved, because after observing the behavior and so on, changes in public education over the years, our students, female and male, there was a need for parents to be there at the middle school level, because that's when we tend to lose, start losing our children, is at the middle school level. And at that time, as a very involved parent, I started a mentoring program there with probably 25 students. I would meet with once a week for an hour. And it was something that really just, I just felt that I had to continue, because there is such a great need there. And so.
Bill, and I want to get to Superintendent in just a moment, but how did you do this? I mean, you were at the school, you were seeing about your own kids, and that's a real key. I think it's important for parents to be at the schools, and I'm sure Superintendent Palczewski, that sounds so long, I'm used to calling him Scott, but he is the superintendent. I'm sure you would agree that that is just critical for the success of education, for parents to be involved.
Well, one of the things that we know very clearly is that the greatest indicator of student success is parental involvement.
You got it, that's good.
Show me a student whose parents are involved, and that student's going to be a success. And I think that Mr. Joseph is way too humble when he talks about his background in the sense that, you know, not only have his efforts been award-winning, an award that you started in Kentwood, the Do the Right Thing Award. You know, Bill was a recipient in 2005.
Yes.
And it's been through that work as a mentor, as a role model in our district that has really allowed this program to blossom. The other thing is that this past year, he was a finalist for the George Romney Volunteer Award that is given each year by Governor Granholm. And, you know, it has been through Mr. Joseph's work, the work of community members who've stepped up, that have really allowed us to fill that void that is sometimes there when we have students who don't have necessarily the same kind of support that can be provided in other homes. And it's through no fault of parents, but we do know this, is that when there's someone who's asking students, are you doing your homework? What have you been up to? Who's checking on them in the classroom, that those students are going to be more successful.